Hello everyone, we have finished learning chapter 1 that is related to the motivational learning statistic and defining statistic. Now we're actually going to move on to building some common language in the data space. And so in this learning of this chapter, and you are going to learn the following concept. So first of all, you are able to know how to describe in data and the sample, and also you'll be able to difference between numerical and category data, and also you'll be able to distinguish the data and that is considered time series data and cross-sectional data. And then after that, we're going to look at the 4 scaled measurement. So for each scale measurement will contain different kind of information. And after that, we're going to look at the specific focus on one of the data type called the light scale. As you're shopping online, sometimes you're getting some kind of survey after your shopping experience. What is the likelihood you're going to shop on this website again? And it's a very likely, neutral, unlikely, very unlikely, right? So that kind of scale called the like scale, we're going to focus on that, how we can use it to collecting data. And then we're going to look at the differences between samples and the population, what kind of error we will be able might be generated as we're collecting data. And then we're going to look at the popular sampling technique. Although this class will not require you collecting the data, it is very helpful and useful for you to know the sampling technique. Because down the road in QB 3000, maybe you're going to collect the data, or in the actual work setting, and then your manager asks you to collect the data. You need to know how to collect the data. And then we're going to look at at the end, we're going to look at some common data source, and just allow you to know where are the data set available for you to download the data to do analysis. And so that is about Chapter 2 is building the common sense about data, so that down the road, next chapter, we're going to look at the numerical and the visualization, and you will know certain terminology and you will know certain kind of data. Okay, so let's dive into the first one. We try to understand what is data and what is observation. So those basic terminology we try to understand. Okay, so the data terminology starting from observation. And we use this word in many areas. Observation. What is your observation? And then in the statistics world, we have the special way to define observation. So that is a single member of a collection of items that we want to study, such as a person, firm, or region. So in other words, observation is where that individual unit you want to collect data from. Okay, so for instance, you want to know, as we had example in the previous chapter about the college graduate salary. So in that situation, the observation will be each individual college student you survey, because that's where you get your data, right? You're going to ask, hey, what's your major? What is your starting salary? So that is that your observation. So that single member of a collection of items. And so that is observation. And then the second terminology here is called a variable. So that is a characteristic of the subject or individual, such as an employee's income or an invoice amount. Okay, if you think about the variables, you can think about this way. So when we're describing a person, and for instance, you want describing Dr. John, you will say, hey, Dr. John, she is an economist, and she have dark hair, brown eyes, and then she's a female, and she worked for Pennsylvania Western University, right? So as we're describing this person, we are using a different kind of characteristic, right? Talking about the hair color, talking about my occupation, talking about my degree, etc., right? So the same, when we think about variables, we are using the variable to characterize our observation, each single member, right? So as I said, when we try to characterize the college graduate by major, so the variable will become, hey, the major is one variable, the other variable would be their income. Okay, and then the third terminology we're introducing here is called a data set. So it consists of all the value of all of the variables for all of the observation we have chosen to observe. So basically, each study, you were collecting a data set. And then, so the data set is more research or specific project oriented. So for instance, the observation can always going to be college students. So let's see, you have 10 college students, Katie, John, Peter, etc., right? And then for one of the one of the project I want to understand is about their income. So then I'm going to add by major. So then I'm going to ask the variable including what is your major and what is your income. And then all the data I collected for that specific project is considered as data set. And for the same observation, right, those 10 person, I can work on different project. Maybe I'm focusing on their shoe size. So then I'm going to ask, hey, Katie, Peter, John, what is your shoe size, what is your age, and what is your height? And so then I creating the variable, which is the height, shoe size, and the age. And then I collect the data to ask each individual. That give me another data set. Okay, so basically the data set is more like a project related. So that is the value for your variable for that specific observations. Okay, so after we know observation variable and the data set, we want to talking about different kind of data set. So the data set can consist of many variables. So in some situation, we only have one variables. In that sense, we call it univariate data set, called one variable. And sometimes we have two variables, and that we call it bivariate data set. And if we have more than two variables, we call it a multivariate data set. Okay, so it's pretty straightforward. Depends on how many variables you have, and you will call data set different names. Okay, now let's look at the practice question together to make sure to make sure you are fully digesting our concept. Okay, here's the example. So if we only have the one variable income, that is univariate data set. If we have income and age, that's a bivariate data set. If we have income, age, and the gender, so more than two, so then we will consider as a multivariate data set. So different data set, we are able to do different kind of statistic tests. We're going to explore that in the future chapters. Okay, let's work on the practice question together. So on this slides, we see two tables. And so one is had the student name and age. The other one had the student name, age, and the gender. So the question are following. In the table 2, please identify observation, variables, and the data set. Okay. So as we discussed, the observation is the individual we are collecting our data from, right? So that if that's the case, if you look at table number 2 here, we have Katie, John, Peter, and this whole table. My observation would be Katie is one, John is the other one, Peter is the other one. So because they are the individual we are collecting the data from. Okay. Now the second question, what are the variables? So the variable are used to characterize our observations, right? So Katie, we are characterized by age and the gender. John is characterized by age and the gender. So therefore, in the table here, the second table, we have two variables, age and the gender, because they are used to characterize our observation here. Okay, and then the last here is what is my data set. So the data set is my whole table. So by default, I usually say, hey, we don't want to include in this column my element name be a part of the data set. So the data set should only include your variable and its values. So therefore, the gender column and the age column together, it's my data set. Okay. Now the second question, what kind of data set for table 1 and the table 2? So if we look at table 1, some students say, hey, I think this is a binary, but like I said, the student name column here, we actually is try to symbolize our observations. So the student name is not considered as my variables. If that's the case, we only have one variable, which is called age. So therefore, this is the what we call it the univariate data set. If we look at the second table, we have age and the gender. We only have two variables. So therefore, for the second data set, we consider as a bivariate data set. And I hope this practice question help you to understand the basic terminology about the data and the data set. And the next one, we're going to move on different type of data.